Welcome to The Explainer. We're all about taking complex, deep dive sources and breaking them down into clear, focused presentations.
All right, let's jump right in. We've got a Trump bombshell, a ghost oil tanker, and your home office. What in the world is the hidden connection there? Seems totally random, right? Well, we're going to dive into a commentary that links these three things to make a really provocative argument about a massive shift happening in our society.
Okay, so our journey starts with a real twist in a story a lot of us thought we knew inside and out. It comes from some newly released FBI documents about Donald Trump and the whole Jeffrey Epstein case.
So, this timeline, which comes straight from the source we're looking at, paints a picture that, well, it pretty much flips the common narrative on its head. The documents seem to suggest that, hey, far from being an associate, Trump might have been one of the very first people to actually sound the alarm.
And this quote right here, this is the absolute linchpin. The source we're analyzing points to this as the central piece of new evidence. I mean, it completely reframes the whole story of Trump's alleged role in the early days of that Epstein investigation.
So the commentary really digs into the specific details from that officer's memory. And the source argues that this account, reporting Epstein, specifically naming Maxwell, and confirming he'd kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago, well, it paints the picture of a whistleblower, not some kind of collaborator.
Okay, let's switch gears for our second story. We're going from a legal bombshell in Florida all the way to a high-stakes military operation smack in the middle of the Indian Ocean.
Now, the source presents this whole thing as a pretty muscular display of American power and, resolve. This wasn't just some routine seizure. It was the climax of a chase that literally spanned half the globe.
You can see here just how elaborate this cat-and-mouse game on the high seas really is. These so-called ghost tankers are specifically designed to hide where sanctioned goods are coming from. But what the source is really highlighting here is that in this case, the U.S. showed it had both the capability and the will to enforce its policy, no matter where in the world it had to go.
Right, so the really crucial point here is the stark contrast the source is drawing. It's putting this decisive American action right up against what it calls European inaction when it comes to Russian oil. The argument being made is that while America acts, Europe is kind of engaging in this hypocrisy, publicly backing Ukraine while at the same time letting the very trade that funds its adversary just carry on.
Okay, so we've got a political bombshell and a military power play. So what's the link? Well, the source argues that to really get it, we need to look at a battle happening way closer to home, the fight over the office desk.
The commentary really zooms in on this fierce debate over returning to the office, using examples from the public sector in places like Canada and the UK. On one side, you have governments mandating a return to the office to improve services, and on the other, you have unions pushing back, trying to frame remote work not as some temporary thing, but as a newly earned right. And according to the source, this is about way more than just convenience. The argument is that permanent work from home actually slows down the government, it's totally unfair to essential workers, it guts our city centers, and it fundamentally breaks the original employment contract, which, it claims, was always meant to be an emergency measure, not some permanent new perk.
All right, so how on earth do these three stories, Trump, the tanker, and the office, actually connect? This is where the source makes its biggest and, you could say, most controversial claim about a massive cultural shift.
The commentary actually borrows this Chinese term lying flat to frame the whole resistance to going back to the office. It's not just seen as a simple preference, but as a symptom of something deeper, a desire to just opt out of the traditional expectations of work and accountability.
And this quote right here, this is really the core thesis of the whole thing. The idea that a basic, common-sense understanding that you're hired to work at an office unless it says otherwise has been completely flipped on its head. Now the government has to justify why its employees should even come back. That's a total reversal of the traditional employer-employee dynamic. But the argument goes even deeper, tracing this whole mindset all the way back to the education system. The source makes the claim that by moving away from objective grading just to avoid making students feel bad, the system is actually conditioning them to expect accommodation over accountability. And, that's a mindset they then carry with them right into the workforce.
And this is the final connection the source lays out for us. The argument is that the sense of entitlement behind this whole work-from-home standoff is just a domestic symptom of a much bigger cultural issue. This perceived decline in accountability, the source claims, is what leads to indecisiveness on the world stage.
So, after weaving together a legal bombshell, a ghost ship, and the whole debate over the home office, the source leaves us right here. It suggests we're not just arguing about where we work anymore, but about the fundamental nature of work itself. And that's a question with consequences that go way, way beyond the office door.